poor school can't do anything about it.
That doesn't seem very safe. I think I should probably tell someone.
Oh, really?
Okay. Excuse me, officer. Officer, oh, what's going on? There's a boy at school with a gun.
What's his name?
His name is Alfonso Lopez.
All right, ma'am. Thank you for letting me know. I'll go get him.
All right, thanks.
Excuse me, sir.
What?
Do you have a gun on school property?
Yeah.
Get on the ground. You're under arrest.
No, Margaret, I don't want the fried chicken for dinner. I want mashed potatoes. Alright? Come in. I'll play back.
Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you?
What do you need to talk about today?
So, we have a case kid coming out of van for us. This kid, he brought a firearm to school. We're not really sure what to do about it.
Sounds like a case for the feds.
It's all yours.
Sounds good. We got this.
Come in. How you doing today, sir?
Well, how are you?
All right. All right. So before we get started, I have to ask you one question. Did you actually bring a gun on the school premises?
Yeah, I gotta keep the strap on in case the gang pulls up, you know.
All right. Well, we're gonna. We can't plead guilty to this because that would mean an automatic conviction. You don't want that. So I think our best plan of action is to try and argue that them using the Commerce Clause to justify the Gun-Free School Zone Act is unconstitutional.
How's it gonna apply to me in my case?
Well, they can't convict you with a statute that's unconstitutional that limits your rights as a U.S. citizen.
So is that all we're gonna do?
I think that's our best plan of action, and hopefully we can get this over to the Supreme Court if we need to.
Alright, man, sounds good to me. Let's do this.
Next on the docket today is U.S. v. Lopez. Now, Mr. Carter, why is your client pleading not guilty to the possession of a firearm when Mr. Lopez admitted to the arresting officer that he had a weapon on him?
We're not trying to argue that Mr. Lopez wasn't in possession of a firearm on school grounds. We're just trying to argue that you can't charge him with the Guns-Free School Zone Act. Now, if you would let me explain.
Now, I'm going to stop you right there, Mr. Carter. I'm dismissing this motion. The Commerce Clause is strong enough to cover the Gun-Free School Zones Act. I'll see y'all around.
Dude, what are we gonna do? No jury's gonna find me not guilty.
I think the only thing we can do is we can waive your right for a trial by jury and just go to a bench trial with just a judge, and hopefully that will work.
You think it'll work?
I think it will.
Alright, let's do it, man.
Let's do it.
Another butt phone, bro. Yeah.
So I think we all know why we are here today. Mr. Lopez, you are being charged with possession of a firearm on school property under the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1990. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Mr. Carter, would you like to speak for your client?
Well, we believe that it's unconstitutional for y'all to try and use the Commerce Clause to justify the Gun-Free School Zone Act. And if you give me a chance to explain myself, maybe
Mr. Carter, I'm going to be honest right here. I don't really care what you have to say. What I would really like to know is why Mr. Lopez had a handgun and 5 bullets at school.
Gotta be prepared for anything, you know?
Mr. Lopez, it is clear to me that you have no regard for President Clinton's new statue.
Screw you, stupid president.
Mr. Lopez, I will hold you in contempt of court. Bailiff, watch him. I have no choice but to send you as 6 months in prison and 2 years of unsupervised release. If you have a problem with that, you can take it straight to the Supreme Court.
I think we're done here.
Mr. Carter, Mr. Days III, welcome to the U.S. Supreme Court. Today we will be hearing the case of U.S. v. Lopez. It is now time to hear from the representative for Mr. Lopez, John Carter. Mr. Carter, please begin.
Your Honor, the Gun-Free School Zone Act of 1990, it's unconstitutional and therefore it cannot be used to charge Mr. Lopez. The possession of a gun is not an economic activity, therefore it can have no impact on interstate commerce. It's really quite simple.
You made a good case, Mr. Carter. Now representing the United States, Drew S. Days III. Well, Your Honor, a gun in a school could easily result in a violent crime that could cause a negative impact on the national economy. The insurance associated with violent crimes would have an impact on not only the economy in Texas, but surrounding states. Perhaps citizens from outside of Texas who are looking to travel into the state no longer would for fear of their own safety. Not to mention, a serious threat to the learning environment could detract from children wanting to go to school, resulting in a less educated citizenry. Thank you for your testimony, gentlemen. The court will now deliberate on the case. All right, Justices, we've heard both arguments. What do you think? Is the Gun-Free School Zones Act unconstitutional?
Well, I think that the Commerce Clause covers it.
It obviously doesn't. Like, you're being...
Shut up.
You don't know what
Shut up.
Listen. The real question here is whether or not possession of a gun on school property is an economic activity.
Of course it's an economic activity.
No, it is not. It has nothing to do with that.
Shut up. Who
You
even
don't know what
invited
you're
you?
talking
That's it. Let's put this to a vote.
Fine.
Gentlemen, the court has ruled 5-4 in favor of the Gun-Free School Zones Act being unconstitutional.
Yeah, bro.
Let's go.
Mr. Lopez, have you removed your shirt in the courtroom?
Of course I have.